Ever since President Trump first was elected in 2016, which came after plenty of upheaval, if you recall, and it was a surprise even to him, I was always thinking, in the larger context of things, what it means. Then many dismissed it as an aberration and did not think would happen again. Well, this past Tuesday, some call it a landslide, whatever you want to call it. I'm not sure what the technical term for it is, but it's pretty decisive and clear victory in the Electoral College, popular vote, throw in the Senate, and looks like the House as well will go Republican. You see what it's doing to this country. There are those celebrating, and there are those that are grieving, crying. What did it do to expose the media? What did it do to expose celebrityhood? All of that didn't mean much. And I'm sure the analysis will continue on and on. I want to take a different angle here. Beyond the immediate analysis of these events, I want to look at the bigger picture. As I said, since 2016, I was thinking of it in broader context. Now, I remember I come from a home of journalists. My father was a journalist. So I always think in terms of 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 10 years from now, when the history books will begin to be written and headlines will be headlines. What will the headline be for the period in time, let's say 2016, 2024? What will be the headline? And I came up with one word, and that is the word called disruption. Disruption. And the truth is, ever since the beginning of this millennium, meaning the 21st century, right with 9/11. 9/11 happened the first year of the new millennium. 9/11, 2001. We're talking about 23 years ago. And we know we were also, which was of course a major disruption that still affects us today. Everyone remembers exactly where they were 9/11 that Tuesday morning. And that was in the middle of another disruption, the disruption of modern technology, namely the internet, websites. That was really began for the public approximately 1994, and then it went through all its iterations, websites, and then YouTube and Google, and then social media came onto the scene, and apps, and now AI is all the rage. These are all disruptive forces. Amazon disrupted the retail industry in dramatic ways. You look at most major cities or cities in general, stores closed down. The music industry, how it was affected. If you remember Napster, and how digital music really replaced, essentially, there's no record stores anymore, period. Disruption after disruption. Now, the word disruption itself can be disrupting and can be a little misleading. It's not always a bad thing. The disruption of one paradigm that leads you to a new paradigm. So it's not a surprise if you think of it in that context that Mr. Trump comes into play amidst the disruptions going on around us and disrupts, first of all, politics. The Republican Party never saw anyone like him. The Democratic Party. The media goes ballistic. The lightning rod that he is. I'm not even getting into whether you agree or disagree with him, but disruption for sure. And no one can ignore him. Then 4 years later come around and he loses the election, but it's in the middle of another disruption called COVID. Who will forget COVID in the year 2020? COVID-19, because it began in 2019, but it really affected us essentially March 2020. And that for sure affected the election, and then affected the next few years of our lives, disrupting literally every industry: travel, school, business, entertainment. Even the baseball season was suspended for the first time. It didn't happen in World War II. It didn't even happen. It happened after 9/11, just for a few days, for the record. But the point is disruption. And whenever you see disruption, you either get demoralized, disoriented, because you lose your coordinates, because that's the definition of disruption. Our comfort zones, our security blankets are stripped from us. I had my plans. I was traveling to the south of France. I was traveling to the Caribbean. I had my travel plans. I had my vacation plans. My children go to school every day. Suddenly, all the norms were not norms anymore. I think Warren Buffett's line about investment is a great line that fits to this, that until the tide is out, you don't know who's been swimming naked. Now we're suddenly swimming naked. So we have to see what we are. And it brought out the worst in some people and brought out the best in some. So we're post-COVID, but to say completely post, no one forgets what happened. So it's not a surprise that you have a Mr. Trump come into the picture. Not an accident. It's part of a disruption. And when you think of it that way, as I said, you can look at it as disturbing your security, your comfort zones, your givens, but you could also see it as the shift to a new world order, the shift of a paradigm shift. And I don't mean a new world order in any negative or apocalyptic way or fascist fashion. I mean it in the context of change. And there's always going to be the discomfort. So if you think of it that way, in general, it could also lower the temperature in understanding context. Remember, what happens around us is not in our control. But how you navigate it is completely in your control. And navigating is all about the bigger picture. Navigating is all about context. So I see a bigger picture emerging here, which may take time to unfold, but it is unfolding in many sectors, including post-election. In 2 years from now will be 250, we'll celebrate the 250th anniversary of this country, 1776, 2026. This country is a manifest destiny of many aspects that saw a bigger picture. The founding fathers also lived during a time of disruption. That's what a revolutionary war is. That's what a revolution is. A declaration of independence. Independence from what? From being subjugated to a previous power, King George, Great Britain, United Kingdom. And they felt, as they write in the Declaration of Independence, almost apologetically, that we need to untie the bonds because the overtaxation, the discrimination, all the different elements that did not allow this country to flourish. And they paid a price. There was a war. They didn't know if they would win the war. It was a minority. They were against a mighty empire. But they paid the price. And the Declaration of Independence will remain forever a document of a new order. What was the order? That until then, monarchs ruled. The heads of churches ruled. Fascists, totalitarians, despots. Some of them were benevolent, but were at their mercy. The concept of freedom, that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and are endowed by the Creator with inalienable rights, the rights to freedom, freedom of expression, and so on, was the first time was institutionalized these principles. I can tell you, and I speak now as a Jew, these are principles that go back all the way to Abraham in the Bible almost 4,000 years ago. But the world did not embrace it. The world actually rejected it and went to war, which I find to be very sad because I see it today as well. Any anti-Semitism is the Jewish people, the gift of the Jews, as Thomas Cale wrote in his great book, that brought these principles to the world. That's what this country represented, and that's what happened 248 years ago. So when I look at the events and you step back in the bird's eye view, that helps you connect the dots to see the trees from the forest. I know some people say it should be the forest from the trees, but whatever. It's yet another one of those. Why knowledge is written with a K. But the point being is that when you look at the bigger picture, the bird's eye view, you suddenly see there are moments in history that are paradigm shifts. Now, what's going to come is up to us, which I'll talk about in a moment. But first, to put things into context. So whoever is listening to this, whether you're a Trump supporter and are celebrating, or you're a Harris supporter and you're grieving, some even devastated, how could this happen? And I'm not going to go and analyzing right now why some people just simply can't see that maybe some mistakes were happening. Maybe it's not the 70 plus million, 73 million, whatever people that voted for Trump that are all misguided. That's another discussion. But whoever you are, you're alive. You're here on this earth. You have a mission. We have more in common than we're different. Don't let yourself get caught up in the hoopla, I have lack of a better word, or the obsessions or the passions of the moment, and buy into media hysteria and other forms of hysteria. There's a strong country that we have here. President Trump did not become a fascist, did not turn this into a fascist country 4 years ago. In case you need to be comforted. And regardless, presidents don't change everything. Every president I've seen in my lifetime, my adult lifetime, shifts here and there. The country is stronger than the president, even if you have concerns. But the time is to right now raise those values that are timeless and will last long after this term and after all the terms that come afterwards. Where is the world headed? That's what we need to ask ourselves. So when you see disruption of different forms, some are uncomfortable, some are not so uncomfortable. You have to ask yourself, okay, how do I navigate this shift like a good swimmer? It may be a storm, maybe disrupting of things that don't make me comfortable, but now is an opportunity to grow into a new way of looking at things. Now, I hope Mr. Trump himself can see that and lead the way. But even if he doesn't, sometimes leaders are led from a higher place. Obviously, everyone has free will. But I would like to see a new world order that re-embraces those values, that materialism is not the number one passion of life. Neither is our celebrities, and neither is the media with its own agendas. It's the things that allow us to love each other better. It's the values of kindness, of generosity, of gratitude, of virtue. Yes, it's the Abrahamic principles taught in the Bible that are universal, that we're here to give more than to take, that each of us is a soul inside of a body. We're spiritual beings on a physical journey, not physical beings on a spiritual journey. And we don't allow materialism to blind us into simply becoming slaves of self-interest, worshiping ourselves, recognizing, yes, that all of us are created equal, and each of us is created in the divine image with an indispensable life mission, that you, with your talents and your skills and your opportunities and your gifts and your resources, should figure out what is your personal mission statement. And that is to take all those resources and harness and direct them toward making your corner of the world a little more refined, a little more beautiful, to be a bearer and an ambassador of light, an agent of the infinity in this finite world. That is completely in your control. No president, no vice president, no Senate, no House can control that. Hopefully they do their part to make the environment such that we can do this well and thrive and not be affected by a difficult economy or have to fight battles and wars within our country or outside of the country, that we could have peace and prosperity so we can, not as an end in itself, so we can then live up to our calling. So perhaps in an interesting way, all our material success and prosperity, all the technology, it was not meant just to have more technology. It was meant to free us from these material burdens so we can become more spiritual human beings. In the words of Isaiah, that the business of this world will no longer be, or the words of Maimonides, I should say, that the business of the world will be to know God, divine transcendence, to experience transcendence, a world filled with divine knowledge as the waters cover the sea, where transcendence is more important than material indulgence, than hedonism. And disruption is sometimes the disruption of hitting rock bottom of an old world order that has not become aware of it. That's really where we're headed. And whoever is out there, and the leaders, are agents of this change, whether they know it or not. If they know it, and they embrace it humbly, then they become part of the solution. If not, it'll happen anyway, whether they like it or not. That's how it works. Now, obviously, people have free will and do whatever they can, and we want to direct them there. But we have ability to affect this situation, the unfolding drama, by having this clarity, by recognizing what is the bigger picture and how does it inform the smaller picture. So whether you're a Harris supporter or a Trump supporter, lessons are to be learned. Loss teaches you many things. It sharpens and crystallizes your values. What do you stand for? It allows you to have introspection and look at what works, what didn't work. It humbles you into being less subjective and more objective. Unless people fall into the trap where they just can't be wrong. There's something wrong with everyone else. Because how could it be? I remember hearing a commentator say, that the majority of this country has voted for fascism, for a strong man. The majority of this country have voted for no democracy. Please? The majority of the country majority of the country makes a democratic choice, and that's their definition of democracy, not yours. Who says your definition of democracy is what prevails? And if your side loses, so to speak, that means the other side chose Hitlerism. The arrogance of that. That's a godless person. They're deciding what is true. I'm the first to admit I do my best, but I can make a mistake. Who can't make a mistake? But again, I don't want to digress. To get back to the bigger picture informing the smaller picture. That's our opportunity, our challenge today. And it's not so easy, because as soon as you turn on the media, you're going to hear every pundit has something to say. And they want to capture your mind and hypnotize and program you and control how you think. So I tell you, turn to your family, turn to the things you love, turn to your values. List them, make a list of them. And that's where you obsess. Your obsessions and focus should be that. Everything else is a sideshow. Someone tells me, more than one person tells me, my brother won't speak to me because I voted for Trump. So the love of our lives, our brothers, our sisters, our parents, our children, is weaker than who you vote for. Politics has become more dominant. You tell me what distortion that is. Forget about what. I'd wonder if it was the other way around. Don't speak to me because I voted for Harris. What kind of behavior is that? It means your priorities are completely off. The whole government is a government for the people, for you. It's meant to enhance your life, not to control your life, to control your opinions. But that's the world in which we live, and that's where we need to free ourselves. You want to emancipate yourself of all these opinions. Figure out what's best for you and your family. And if you need help, objective help, find someone that you care about, that you trust, and that cares about you, that can help you find the way. So much more to be said about this future. I've talked about it in my talks about AI, that we are headed to a world where, yes, most of our menial and mundane labor will be replaced by machines. But that doesn't mean that we return to machines ourselves. Like the person who said, I wanted AI to wash the dishes and clean my house, and I can write poetry and books. Instead, AI is writing poetry and books, and I'm cleaning the house and washing the dishes. Machines will do their job, and they'll do them in powerful ways. But we are more than machines. We're souls. We have the ability to transcend beyond even the machines that replicate us. But again, it's a discussion outside of the scope of what I wanted to say. So what has happened is disruption in a good way. It may be disruption that you embrace and you say, great. Especially when you see how many people it disturbs. That alone tells you that there must be something good about it. Or if it's disruption that you don't like, that's also an opportunity for growth. So God bless America. God bless you. God bless us to have the wisdom, the fortitude, the courage and the awareness that you have the resources available to you to find your calling in this world. And let everything else be tools and means and accessories to help you find exactly that. And may we find that common ground to find the unity within our diversity. E pluribus unum. Be blessed and be well. This has been Simon Jacobson. MeaningfulLife.com is our website. Please subscribe to our offerings, including our YouTube channel. Please share this with others if you feel it's a worthwhile message. And I'd love to hear your feedback, your thoughts, your comments, your critique. Anything you'd like to share is sacred and valuable. Be well and be